Hey everybody, hope you're doing great wherever you are in this world today. Going to do it. We're going to say goodbye to 2022 and say hello to 2023. Before we get started with today's video, I want to thank everybody. We're at 19,600 subscribers. And I also want to remind everybody that they can become a member to the channel now for just 99 cents a month. Starting tomorrow, the MVP, VIP, and Pro versions of the memberships are going to start being weeded out, and all of those perks are going to carry over to the 99-cent eBuzz Central member. It's a great way to support the channel you like, and a great way to support content you like. Now, I want to wish everybody, because some of you all are still on New Year's Eve, and some of you all are getting ready to say Happy New Year, but anyway, I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Everybody that watches my channel, I wish nothing but the best for you, for your family, for those that you love and care about. Now, looking back over 2022, I have covered a lot of information, and it's really hard sometimes to continually share that information when people don't really always see the information that I share. So it's really important. If you watch any of my videos, if you don't want to subscribe, I totally understand, but please like the video. That's what keeps me in YouTube's algorithm, and that is what takes the information that you like and makes sure that other people get to see it. So please don't forget to like my videos. What I put together today is a great list. It is 5 Linux distributions that have either reinvented themselves in 2022 or are brand new on the scene. And I think there are 5 distributions that we need to keep our eyes on. Everything from working distributions all the way to gaming distributions. But these are the distributions we need to keep our eyes on in 2023 because I think they're going to make leaps and bounds in what they do for the community. And I think they're going to bring just more for us as lovers of Linux. So if you would, sit back, let's watch the video, and once again, Happy New Year to everybody out there watching this video, and thank you so much for all of your support, and I will see you next year. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dahlia OS. This is a very interesting project. It kind of brings the best of both worlds from the Fuchsia OS and the Linux side of things and puts them into one distribution. It's a modern, secure, lightweight, and responsive system. They've got a beautiful website, which is dahliaos.io. I'll be sure to include that link in the description below. Now, if you go on over to their website, like I said, it's a very beautiful, clean, and easy to maneuver website. They just give you some base information. Dahlia OS is modern, secure, lightweight. And then you can come down here and it says just the basics. Dahlia OS keeps things light by only including apps you need, leaving the choice to the user on what other applications to install. So in other words, out of the box, it's not bloated with a bunch of apps that you don't think you're going to use, and it kind of lets you build the operating system around what you're going to be using it for. And if you click right here on applications, it'll bring up a lot of different applications that you can get, and they got the App Store, you've got a task manager. Graft, we're going to take a peek at. It's their own virtual machine and way to run other OS apps inside of Dahlia OS. Now we're going to go back, and then you can come down a little further. You've got your features. One of their primary goals is to provide as many useful features as possible. It's got a modern desktop. It's the Pangolin desktop. I really like it. It's lightweight. It's quick. It's going to remind you a lot of Chrome OS, but then it has a few little tweaks that kind of make it its own. And it's a rolling release. It uses DApp packages, which is a simple packaging format based on the app image architecture. It's built in containers too. And then you can come down and it says it's got a wide range of supported devices, so that way it gives you a fast and stable experience. And then of course, free open source software. Dahlia OS is always and always will be open source, 100% free. All their code is hosted on GitHub, and they believe in transparency. And since August 2020, they are members of the Open Invention Network, the world's largest patent, non-aggressive community and free defensive patent pool. And then you can scroll down a little further. Now, we're going to be looking at it today inside a virtual instance, but you can, if you come over to their website and you do not want to download the OS and try it in a virtual instance, you can try it inside of a browser. So the easiest way to do that is just click on Try It Now. And it'll say, welcome to Dahlia OS. It's pre-release software, of course. And then you can take a peek at it. So let's go. And then this kind of gives you a layout of it. But you'll see here in a second in the visual instance that it looks not a lot different, but it definitely has a different look when you download the actual operating system. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and back out of this. And we came back to the website. Now, if we scroll down here, you do have it available in the EFI and Legacy Edition. So if you've got newer hardware, you can run it on that. And then if you've got older hardware, you can run it on that as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and scroll back to the top. And you've got some things up here. You've got features, download, donate, demo, and then, of course, your documentation if you should have any questions about the OS in and of itself. Well, I think right now, without any further to do, we're going to go ahead and zip on over onto Dahlia OS's desktop. And when you download Dahlia OS, throw it on a USB or open it up into a virtual machine, this is the desktop you're going to be met with. It's very familiar to a lot of people. It's got the same basic panel down here. I like the layout. It looks a lot like what you're going to see with a Chromebook or Chrome OS in and of itself. But it's got that Linux underpinning to it, which I think is really nice for the simple fact that you've got something that is aesthetically pleasing, and then you've got solid stability of Linux. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. You've got your app launcher right here. If you click on that, it's going to open up and show you your apps. And then you've got a search function right here. Then, of course, back to desktop, you've got files, settings, you've got your terminal right here, calculator, app store, and photos. And then over here, you've got your quick settings. And when that opens up, you've got your network, Bluetooth, theme, language. Of course, you can go to theme and you can change what your highlight colors are. You can go back to that, and then your highlight colors would be changed here. That's up to you completely. And then, of course, your shortcuts. It shows you that it's an alpha build, and then quick access to their website. And then date, time right here. Power, back out, settings right there. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then you can come over here. I do believe that's their photo app if you open that up. And as you can see right here, it doesn't have any photos loaded into it, but it does have the Dahlia OS logo. So let's go ahead and close out of that. Then their app store will be right here. This is your web app manager. You've got Discord, Visual Studio Code, Google, Townscaper, Dahlia OS documentation, and then, of course, Minecraft Classic. So let's close out of that. You've got your calculator right here. And as you can see, it is a little laggy, but it is an alpha, and I'm running it inside a virtual machine. So, and I want to double check here real quick just to see how much in resources it's actually using, and I'm pretty sure that if I installed it on bare metal it would be a lot quicker. So let's go ahead and open up the terminal, and I think I'll go ahead and do an HTOP right here. And I have 4 gigabytes of RAM issued to this virtual machine. Right now we're using about 343 megabytes, so this is a lightweight system. And I do believe if you installed this on older hardware or even newer hardware, this OS would completely fly. But that's pretty impressive. I like that. CPU, it's using about 50%, but I've only got 2 cores issued to it, so I'm not going to complain about that too much. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then we'll come down here. You've got your settings right here. And you've got your Wi-Fi and internet. So you can come over here. So you can check Ethernet, virtual private network. And because I'm in a virtual, it's going to show Ethernet. Connected devices, this is where you would do your Bluetooth and of course phone integration, and if you had printers you could set those up over here as well. And then you've got customization. You can have a dark mode, you can have a light mode, of course. I think I'll leave it on light mode for the rest of the video so you guys can kind of see what's going on there. And then of course you can change the way your bar looks down here. Now will it let us change that? Okay, so you can move everything over to your classic, more of a Mate KDE panel, their default panel, or you can leave it in the center and get that Windows 11 feel. And then of course your display, and there's no settings on there, it automatically sets it up for you inside a VirtualBox. Sound, yeah, locale, notifications, and then applications. So yeah, they're still working on it. Like I said, it's an alpha build. You can still download it, check it out, and I'm sure you'll be impressed. So let's go ahead and open up our app menu. There's the web app manager. We just looked at that. You've got your settings, calculator, terminal, text editor, and then Graft. Graft is their own virtual instance. And as you can see over here, they kind of give you a layout. It's Linux, Dahlia OS, kernel, Windows, Macintosh, Fuchsia. They kind of give you a layout of how you'll be able to run this virtual machine. You'll be able to load them up just from right here in Graft. I haven't played around with it a whole bunch. I'm looking forward to doing a video on it upcoming to kind of give you an idea of what it is like and how it compares to things like GNOME boxes and VirtualBox and VMware. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. Come back down here, your file manager. Let's go ahead and open that up. Look a lot like what you're going to get on, say, like a Chrome OS, because Chrome has everything broke down over here. But I'm sure it's going to have a feel like that of using the Chrome. And honestly, on the Chromebooks, I've had to toy with those sometimes, especially with my kids. During COVID, they were using their Chromebook to do their schoolwork, and sometimes their file system would lose something and I'd have to go in and help them find it. I will say this, the Chrome OS file system I don't like that much because it does get cluttered rather quick. There's no way to really set it up and make it look any better than what it does out of the box. So hopefully Dahlia OS tweaks it a little bit and makes the file manager a little bit more their own and just doesn't depend on that regular Chrome OS layout. So let's go ahead and close out of that. Okay, back down here, you've got your media, your clock, system logs. Let's look at Task Manager. Let's see exactly what it says that we might be using. I guess they don't really have their Task Manager set up yet. I mean, we ran a HTOP in the terminal, so I guess that would... Okay, can we just come down here? Nope. Launch, about, and kill, notes, right click. Okay. Yeah, so that's not completely accessible yet. And then let's go ahead and come back down here, and then their web browser. Now, interestingly enough, I find something odd here. I'm not going to complain because it is alpha software. I'm sure they'll have it taken care of before the beta goes out. But this is your web browser. Now let's go ahead and maximize that and go full screen. And I've tried, let's see, can we get an about? I'll get some more information on exactly what the web browser and what it's based on and what kind of code we have under the hood. So what I'm going to do right now is just do a base search. Let's go with eBuzz Central. Okay, it's using DuckDuckGo, of course, you can see that. And can we make, just trying to change the size of fonts. Font size is large. I guess we could go larger. Okay, we'll have to play around with it a little bit and see, but it doesn't seem like there's no back button. This almost has a, and see, this stays open when you use it. I don't know if it's meant to do that, or if it's because it's an alpha, it's just a bug. But I think they got a little bit of work to do here. But I mean, still, at the same time, it's very polished for an alpha. I mean, they've got their own desktop environment, the Pangolin desktop environment. It gives you a good feel being inside it. Now you can't just, can you double click to minimize? Yeah, you can double click to minimize. Now can you grab it and move it? No, it doesn't let you do that. So they got a little bit of work to do on it, but I am rather impressed. ExTix Linux, I'll be sure to include that link in the description below, but they have a brand new release out, and I'm excited about this one because it's got the deepened desktop environment. As you all know, I love the deepened desktop environment. KDE is still my favorite, but if there's an environment out there that I think would give Windows or Mac OS a run for their money, as in the aesthetically looking part of the desktop, I believe Deepen's got that hands down. KDE's more for the customization, and of course, GNOME is getting more or less honed in on a workflow or a specific type of workflow. Now, ExTix just released this yesterday, I do believe, and it's a brand new version. And if you go up top, you've got about ExTix. ExTix and Xton, they're kind of simultaneously working together, I do believe. You've got a lot of different versions you can get of it, but when you come to their website, it's got recent posts. Of course, you can come over here and donate and support the project if you want to. And what I'm going to do real quick is if you click on download, it'll bring you down here and it'll say download ExTix, all versions from SourceForge. And don't worry, it downloaded pretty quick. I've got average home internet at my house, so you won't have to wait forever. But what you want to do is when you click on download, it comes over here and it kind of gives you a summary down here. It lets you know that there's versions 22.12, 22.9, 22.8, 22.5. And then of course they're based on Ubuntu, but you get the most recent kernel. So you're not going to be stuck in a kernel that's back. So you're going to get the most recent kernel with an Ubuntu base. And it comes in Deepin, Budgie, LXQT, and KDE Plasma Desktop. And it will have Android in a box. So if you want to run Android apps right in the operating system, you can. And then, of course, some of the programs they have passwords. Password for root is root. The password for the ordinary user is live. And then down here, features, 5 versions, and it kind of goes over a few of the things that we've already discussed. Without any further ado, let's just get on over to the desktop. Now, if you download ExTix Linux, throw it on a USB, or open it up in a virtual machine, this is the screen you're met with. As you can see right off the bat, it's very aesthetically pleasing right out of the box. It's got a real good polished look about it. And like I said, quite frankly, it's one of the most beautiful desktops that's out there. That's in my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's all right. But what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to come down to the bottom. You've got a bar down here. Now, some people like this stock experience. Some people don't. If you don't, it's real simple. You just right click on it, go to mode. If you want to go to efficient mode, you can move everything over here. It gives you a different layout and gives you a look that you're probably more comfortable with. But if you like the other one, you can just leave it in fashion mode and you're good to go. It's got a single panel on the bottom. You got your notifications, trash, date and time, power, keyboard, grand search right here. If you do a grand search, you click on that. That pops up. You could look for something like GIMP. And then it says search for GIMP. You could go over here and search for GIMP. And what it's going to do is it should open up the web. And then you could go search for it on the web. And it does right there. As you can see, it's got Google as its primary search engine. Now, if you want to change that, it's real simple. You can go up here in settings and change that. But you've got more of a global search right there. They call it a grand search, not a global search. But I do like that tool, and I like the aesthetic of it. I know a lot of you are going to say, why are you so worried about the look? I do like polished look on different desktop environments. I do like polished look in your operating system. So that's just my personal preference. Then we can come back across here. You've got screenshot right there. And of course, you've got your internet sound. Now, if you want these to hide, all you got to do is click that little arrow right there. They hide. They're out of the way. It's just a different way to keep things on and off your screen. Now, if we come back over here on the dock, you've got PC Man File Manager. Let's go ahead and open that up and move that to the center so you can see it. It's not as feature rich as, say, a Dolphin, but it is a nice file manager. You've got your usual suspects over here. You got your home folders right here. I do like the aesthetic of it. I like the way it looks. I like the icons that they're using. Now let's go ahead and close out of that. You've got Firefox right here. You've got Synaptic Package Manager right here. Those of you who are familiar with my channel know that Synaptic is more of a type search install program. So let's say you were looking for something like Kdenlive. You just go in and put Kdenlive in. Do a search on that real quick. It brings Kdenlive up here. You click on it, mark it for installation. It'll let you know what dependencies it needs. You mark those as well. Once those are all marked, you come up here and click apply, and it installs it for you. Now, if you want to do more than one application, all you'd have to do is go back up here. You could do another search for something like Shotcut. Let's go ahead and do a search for Shotcut. It's right there. Mark it for installation. It doesn't need any extra dependencies because it's going to use the same ones that Kdenlive does. But now once you have both of those selected, you just come up here and click apply, and it would install both of them at the same time for you. So I suggest if you haven't worked with Synaptic, if you do download this and take a look at it, definitely go over Synaptic. And then of course you have Refracta Snapshot. And then you also have Refracta Installer. You could take a snapshot of your system right here, and should you have any issues in the future with your OS and have to go back to a previous snapshot, you would use the Refracta Installer right here to take care of that. And then you've got Terminal right here. Let's go ahead and open that up, see if they have top. There's top. Right now, I have 8 gigabytes issued to this virtual machine, and at rest, with just the terminal open, we're at 605. So this is lighter than KDE at rest. KDE usually runs somewhere between 650 and 750 in my use case. But that is nice. You get a great looking desktop environment, and it's not heavy on resources. I think that's a plus. Deepin used to be a little bit heavier on resources. So definitely this is something, if you're wanting something a little lighter than GNOME or KDE, Deepin is the answer. My personal opinion. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Then you've got your albums right here, music, calendar, Control Center. Let's go ahead and open that up. Control Center right here is where you're going to be making all your adjustments. You've got accounts, display, Deepin ID, default applications, personalization. They do have a light and dark mode or an auto mode. Let's go ahead and switch that over to dark. And then, of course, your accent color is blue. You could change that to red if you wanted to. Let's leave that right there. You've got your icon themes that you can change right here, and then your cursor themes, your font, and then of course your dock. Let's go ahead and maximize this because you do have a little bit of adjustments you can make to your dock. You could put it to the top. That's fashion mode efficient. Let's go ahead and put it back on the bottom. Status, you can keep it shown. You can keep it hidden. You can smart hide it so when you open a window up, it would disappear. And then, of course, you can adjust the size of it right here. So you've got a lot of different things right here you can adjust. Over here, you've got accounts, display, your Deepin ID. If you want to set up a Deepin ID, that's only supported in mainland China at the present, so you don't really have to worry about that. Your default apps. Let's go to System Info. Right now, it's ExTix Deepin version 20, Community Edition, 64-bit. It's running the 6.1.0-AMD 64 Exton kernel, which means this is a distribution. It is not a spin. They've come up with their own kernel. Shows that I'm using AMD Ryzen 9 with Radeon graphics and then 8 gigabytes of RAM. And then, of course, your privacy policy. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then down here, you've got the App Store. Let's go ahead and open that up. And it says Deepin 20.8 is officially released, which we know it is. It's what we're using right now. And then down here, you've got some different editor's choice. You've got OpenShot, GIMP, Inkscape, XPad, Audacity. Then you've got your must-haves. These are one-click installers. You could come down through here, click everything that you wanted. And once you have everything picked, come up here and click Install All, and you'll be good to go. And then all updates and manage. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Let's come over here to the app menu. You've got the icon browser, partition editor, install, screenshot, Refracta installer, all categories, internet, music, video. So you can break that down a little bit. It does have the mail. If you open it up, Deepin has a beautiful mail application. It's easy to set up. You can set up other mailboxes here, Gmail, Yahoo Mail. So let's close out of that. Let's go back over here. Let's go to all categories, graphics, simple scan, draw. Let's go back, video, movie, screen capture, movie. You just have the movie application, and all of these go right along with the aesthetic of the operating system. So quite honestly, ExTix Linux, I think, gives you a nice solid Ubuntu base, but they give you the most up-to-date kernel. And it's their own kernel, so it is their own distribution. You also got App Store over here. You got your browser over here, screen capture, text editor, control center we already looked at, calculator, font manager, couple games, Deepin forum, and then, of course, your all categories. Now, what I want to do is right-click here. Let's go wallpaper and screensaver. And I love the way they give you the wallpaper choices down here where you can change it just by scrolling through different wallpapers. And where's the one we presently have set? I don't see it. So if you wanted to change to something like that, you can. Let's go to both. And then you've got that set up. I like that look. So there's a lot of different wallpapers. There's a lot of different ways to customize it. It is a beautiful distribution. It is a beautiful operating system. And I suggest, if you haven't taken a look at it in a while, to definitely swing on over to the website, download it, throw it in a virtual machine, take it for a drive. And it's really responsive in a virtual machine. Is ExTix Deepin something you might download and take for a test drive, or is it something you're already using? Please let me know in the comments below. What is on the Steam Deck is an Arch-based distribution. It's got the Arch kernel, and it supports a lot more hardware. Well, there have been signs that this operating system is going to be coming to the desktop. And I covered that. But I did have most of my commenters say, well, there's already SteamOS, it's Debian-based, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. I'm going to repost some of the content from those previous videos so you can understand that this is the Arch-based distribution that's coming out on the Steam Deck, or is out on the Steam Deck, that will be coming to the desktop. And it's pointing in that direction because they've come up with a media creation tool and everything. So I'm reposting some of that information so you can actually watch it and understand that this is the Arch-based SteamOS that's on the Steam Deck, not the Debian that already exists. So take a look at this information because SteamOS, Arch-based, is coming to the desktop. Now, if you remember, about 3 weeks ago, I did a video on the Hollow ISO. It's SteamOS 3.4. Windows days are numbered. I had a lot of input on that. I had a lot of people saying, you know, it's for Steam Deck. It doesn't work with NVIDIA. It's not really going to do anybody any good until we have the ability to actually upload it and use it on our systems. Well, I was actually poking around in the repositories of Steam today and come across something very, very interesting. So let me bring that up. Let me close this and let me go ahead and maximize this. Now this is, if we go back here, this is the Steam Deck packages SteamOS Cloud, and I'll show you exactly how you can find it. You can come up here and it's the Arch Linux mirror. And then you want to go down to the Hollow ISO. Where's the H? And you want to go to the main. And then you want to go to OS. And then 8664. Now, if you come down through here, you don't see much. You got Calamares. You don't see anything that really, you know, puts the red flag up and says, hey, this is something to think about. And then you look over here, you've got August, you've got October. You got some more October here, but then you come down here a little bit further and you see SteamOS customizations, and then you see this. This was just added on the 25th of October. SteamOS Media Creation Tool. This is going to give you the ability to create an image of SteamOS. This was put up within the last week. So what that tells me is that we're getting ready to have a desktop image of SteamOS that we're going to be able to install on real hardware. Now, the next question you're going to ask me is, well, what happens if you download it? Well, I did. I downloaded it, and it popped up over here, SteamOS Media Creation Tool. When I double-clicked it, it opened it up in the software manager. Actually, I right-clicked it, opened it with the software installer, and what did it give me? Well, let's go down here, and if we go up here and we just type in Steam, there's Create Media, SteamOS Media Creation Tool. Welcome to the SteamOS Media Creation Tool. To begin, select the SteamOS image from your machine. So we're going to be able to download the SteamOS image, and then we're going to be able to burn that to media. Now the next question is if I go back over to Firefox and look for the SteamOS image, it doesn't show. But if we go back to Hollow ISO, would it give us the actual ISO? There's Hollow Main. Let's open that up. OS 64. And it doesn't give us an actual ISO. You've got database, you've got files. But I do know this. There's going to be an ISO available. You do not create a media creation tool if you don't plan on releasing an ISO. Now, what do you all think? Does this mean that we're on the verge of actually having the SteamOS Arch version that they're running on the Steam Deck that we can create media for and actually put it on real hardware? I really thought twice about making this video, but because the last video got so many views, I wanted to bring this to you. Tell me all what you think in the comments below. Is this something to be excited about? Is this one more step towards complete gaming on Linux? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Hey everybody, I bet you're wondering why I'm at a Windows desktop. This is what you always hear. You'll hear it from Windows users, Mac users, and even some Linux users. There will never be a year of Linux on the desktop, ever. Nobody's ever going to leave Windows. Nobody's ever going to leave Mac. And most of the time when they address the Windows issues, it's always the same thing. Gaming on Linux isn't there yet. Gaming on Windows is just better. Well, I'm here to tell you guys today, the tide is turning, and it is turning heavily. I have been waiting to do this video for 2 months because my son and I ran a little experiment. Now, if you look at my channel, I have covered a lot of different Linux distributions. couple of them that were gamer friendly, but I have never really covered gaming on Linux, ever, to the extent that I'm going to cover it today. About 2 months ago, me and my son started an experiment. We built him a brand new gaming PC. He's running Manjaro on his CyberPower PC. We went with mid-range specs, just an AMD graphics card, AMD Ryzen 5, and we built it. And we put something interesting on it. What we put on it was the Hollow ISO. Now, the Hollow ISO is basically the Steam Deck recovery image. But what they do with it is they take a lot of the mandatory hardware requirements out of it, and you can pretty much download the ISO and then install it on any hardware, as long as it's AMD. You can have some Intel. You got to do a little tweaking here and there with an Intel GPU, and obviously NVIDIA is not in there. And all you do is you come over to this site, and I will go ahead and link that in the description below. And then right over here, you've got the ISO. And then you scroll down here, you've got source code, you got the tar and zip. And then right here, you've got the hollow ISO.zip file that you can download and pretty much install on anything. As long as you're not using NVIDIA or Intel, if you're AMD, you're gold. Okay? You go ahead and download that, and you can throw it onto a USB device, restart your system, and go through the install process. Now, when you go through that install process, it's only a 3-step process. You pick your drive, you pick whether you want just the Steam Deck GUI, or do you want the Steam Deck GUI and desktop GUI. What you'll want to do is pick both of those, and then install it, and you're gold. You're ready to go. And those of you who know about Steam know that it has come a long way in the last 10 years. It's been around since 2012, and now we're in 2022. It's easy to get things set up. Back in 2017, though, you had to have games that were specifically made for Linux, until they came out in 2018 with the Proton layer, which lets you pretty much play anything that you could play on Windows on Linux. Now, the success rate wasn't that great, maybe 50%. But now, today, those numbers have jumped. We're talking about over 90% of the games that you can play on Windows, you can now play on SteamOS, on a Linux machine. The Steam Deck has been really exciting, but the announcement that they were actually going to switch their kernel over to the Arch kernel made things a whole lot easier for people, because it gives you the ability to update your system a lot quicker. Debian sticks with the older kernel, and Arch sticks with a newer kernel with a lot more hardware support, so that makes it definitely a must if you're going to use it in something like the Steam Deck. Now, getting the ISO image and installing this is simple as 1, 2, 3. You just go in and type in hollow install. You go ahead and put in 2, which will give you the deck experience, and then you enter your desired driver node. Once you're done with that, it'll install, and you're going to come right to a beautiful game screen, log in, and all your games will be there. It makes things that much simpler. You can go in, pick your game, and get to playing, especially if you're on AMD hardware. Like I said, with Intel, you may need to do a little bit of tweaking. This is directly from my son's PC. He can play Red Dead Redemption with no issues. Now, I will say this. You're probably going to need to install your launchers, whether it be Rockstar, whether it be whatever launcher, game launchers you have, need to be installed through the Steam Deck GUI. But here's what I love. See right here where it says switch to desktop? Click that button and check this out. It brings you right to a Linux desktop. A KDE Plasma desktop, to be quite honest. And if we go over here to settings, you go ahead and click on that, and we will scroll all the way to the bottom and go to about this system, and it tells you right here, SteamOS installer 3.4. It's using KDE Plasma version 5.23. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and as you can see right up here, you can return to your gaming mode right there. So if you want to go back to the Steam Deck main screen where it's just the Steam Deck GUI, you click on that, it takes you right back over, you're good to go. You can power off or switch to desktop, and it brings you right over here, and you can get to work and do things that you may need to do on a desktop. You can come down here, and we go through the application launcher. You've got applications. You've got your development, onboard settings, Plasma Engineer, internet. You've got Firefox, or you can install Firefox. And then settings. And then system, you've got Dolphin, Info Center, console, system monitor. Then, of course, you've got your utilities right here. Mousepad, emoji selector, spectacle. And let's go ahead, and if you want to change this up, you can change it like, let's see, show alternatives. We could go to an application dashboard. Let's go ahead and switch that. And then when you opened it up, you could come to an application dashboard. And then you have Discover Software Center. And just like Discover on any other Arch-based KDE distro, it doesn't play well. So what does that mean? You're going to have to install something like Paymac or something like that to handle your software installs. But the basis here, everybody, the basis here for a powerful desktop operating system and a powerful gaming system. What they've done is they've pretty much made a hybrid, put them both together, and made it possible to be able to have a gaming setup and then be able to exit out of that to a desktop and get real work done. Think about the power of that. Being able to get real world work done and being able to game on the same system. And it being Linux based and being Arch based. So you're going to have the bleeding edge, you're going to have gaming, and you're going to have everything you need right out of the box to compete with a Windows PC. So at the end of the day, what does that really mean? It means that the days of having to dual boot Linux and Windows are quickly coming to an end. You will be able to install a Linux operating system that is Arch based, that already has SteamOS built into it with all the Proton compatibility layers, and be able to play any game that you want on a Linux system. And it's all thanks to the hard work of the people over at Valve. They're making leaps and bounds in these steps to make sure it is a lot easier for us Linux users to be able to play the games that we love and not be trapped in Microsoft's crap operating system. Now, the Steam Deck is what is pushing all of this, of course. The Steam Deck, I think, is going to become one of the most popular handhelds on the market for the simple fact that there are a lot of people that have Steam accounts. They have games that they play on Steam, they have games that they play on their Windows PC, and they will be able to also play them on a Steam Deck, which is Linux-based. Now, with Holo ISO giving us the ability to not only play the games that we love, but also be able to switch to a desktop and get real-world work done is astonishing. It is great. It is something that I believe is game-changing for the Linux community. And I don't believe people understand it or people know the importance of this. It is important that Valve succeeds. It's not so much that the Steam Deck has to take over market share. It's more important that the hardware does make a dent in the market, but at the same time, the software is what really comes out and comes above board and shows everybody, hey, I'm Linux, I can do everything Windows does, and most of the time I can do it better. Today we're going to take a look at Modicia OS. I took a look at this operating system about 6 months ago and was thoroughly impressed. It is probably one of the most complete operating systems out of the box that I have ever had the chance to actually use. Now, if you want to go over their website, it's modiciaos.cloud, and I'll be sure to include that link in the description below, so if you like what you see, you can zip over and download it yourself. And when you come to their website, they have a really beautiful website. And they offer 3 different versions of this operating system. Now, Modicia OS is based on Ubuntu, and you can get it in 3 different flavors, which is Ultimate, Enterprise, and Education. In Ultimate, you get a specific set of applications. LibreOffice, Master PDF, Office 365. It's like a web app that you can use directly on the desktop. GIMP Shop, Raw Therapy, MyPaint, Knation. And then on Enterprise, you get things like RSync, Samba, FileZilla, Master PDF, Wine. And then on Education, you get a lot of K programs, K Geography, K Word Quiz, K Stars. You got GNOME Paint, Canagram, G Compress. And then if you come down a little bit, it's got a couple different reviews, and they actually still have my review from 6 months ago on their website. Now, the main features of Ultimate, Enterprise, and Sound, there are 7 specific main features to each distribution. The first feature is Turbo Boost processors are active by default. So if you have a processor that supports Turbo Boost, it's activated by default. You don't have to worry about it. Number 2, swappiness is reduced to 10% and programs are faster than 25% and consequently also increases the life of your SSD. Data in RAM memory is compressed with a speed reading and write of 20%. Wine, Samba, rsync is already configured and they're active out of the box. Number 4, if you press Alt and Spacebar, the launcher application menu will appear. Number 5, all programs have various language and dictionaries available already installed out of the box. So what that means is you're going to have a lot of European languages already there and American English is already there. Number 6, from the context menu, wherever you are, you can activate the Windows expose. And then number 7, you can quickly start displaying desktops, Windows, application menus with the super key, which is either Windows or the Mac key. Scroll down a little bit more and they give you a little bit of information. Their education version right now is currently installed in over 12 schools and institutes, and it has a user base of 1,700 students every day. You will find useful and tested applications, tools complete with plugins, and they're already pre-configured. And down here it's got a list of some of the schools. And then you've got Modicia OS sound for audio production. Comes with Wine config, Wine tricks, Jack audio, video clip. When you come over to their website, this breaks it all down for you and it's easy to see that this distribution is a very complete distribution. And then down here you've got user manuals. English, Spanish, Italian, Dutch, French, I'm not sure what PT is, and what professional use. Use every day in offices, graphic studios, and schools. They got right here, you got company software development, ISMA primary and secondary and tertiary schools, and MH professional photo video productions. And then you can download it down here. Now I do want to show you this because I've had people in the past that have watched the previous video and said, it's great, you can go to their site, but it takes you directly to a donate button and doesn't let you download it. Let's go ahead and cover that. You come down here, you've got the Community Edition, the Enterprise Edition, or the Pro Edition. Now the Community Edition comes with the Ultimate ISO, Server Link, installable system. It doesn't come with free support. Now if you go over to the Enterprise, you get email support 24/7, development team, in one email support, troubleshooting, and advice configuration. And then on the Pro Assistant, you get that coverage for a full year. And that's a paid version, but you don't have to pay for it here. So to download it, all you got to do is click free, start, and it brings you to this screen right here. And everybody gets to this screen and says, it just doesn't work. I can't download it. Go to Community, click Community, and it'll bring you over here and they say, they want my money, but they won't let me download it. See this right here? Modicia OS Ultimate 22.4.8. Click it. Come right here, click download. This page will pop up, close it, and it started downloading in the background. That's as easy as I can make it. Now let's go back to their homepage. Like I said, I will include the link in the description below, so that way if you're interested in taking a peek at it, you can zip on over and download it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually fire it up in a virtual machine and take a look at it. Now if you download Modicia OS, throw it on a USB, or put it into a virtual machine and boot into it, this is the screen you're met with. Now if you notice, you have a panel up top. You've got access to your desktop, files, documents, music, pictures, and videos. And then over here, you have power button, date and time, sound, battery charge, notifications, and then of course your internet. And then if you come down here, you've got a dock-like interface that lets you get to anything that you want to put on it. You can pin different things down here so they're quick to access. And then up here you've got just a little conky that lets you know what CPU usage is and what your RAM is. Now you notice it comes with just a plain wallpaper out of the box. So what we're going to do is right click. We're going to come down to desktop settings. And what I want to do real quick is pick a background. And let's go with something like that and close. And there's a darker background and it makes everything pop just a little bit more. Like I said, this is based on Ubuntu. Now you've got different things you can do down here. What I like doing right off the bat with this is the app expose. I want to move this over by my expose. Now to get to your different desktops and things like that, you just click on expose. and it brings your desktops up over here. You've got 3 of them. Or you can also do a search up here for specific application. Let's put in disk, and there you have disk usage analyzer, disks, G-Smart control, install. So let's go ahead and open up disks, and it'll open up right here, and you're good to go. Now you also have the availability that if you're not in Expose, you can go to an app expose right here, and there's all your apps that are presently installed on this system. Now I want to touch base on something right here, because I'm going to have a lot of people in comments, or I might not. I may not have to deal with a lot of trolls in this situation. I'm going to have some people in the comments get on the comments and go, this is ridiculous. This operating system is a bloated mess. Why are you going to have all of these applications in there? Blah, blah, blah. That's what's going to say. Bloat, bloat, bloat. Let me go ahead and clear something up in my point of view. My point of view is, if you're talking about bloat, let's look at Windows 11. What I call bloat on Windows 11 are applications that are not useful to me. Candy Crush, games, any crap like that. What I like in this operating system is every application on here is something that is useful, something that can be used. It's not a waste of space. It's not something that's asking for me to spend more money on it. It's not a game. It is an application that can be utilized and used. So in my opinion, it is not bloat. It is a tool that I can use to complete what I want to do. Now, if you disagree with me, I'm sure you're going to let me know in the comments, but this operating system comes packed with a lot of useful tools, and it's not bloat. That's my opinion. Now, we're going to come back down to the bottom. You've got screenshot right here. You just click on it, and it would take a screenshot, of course. Then you've got your file manager, which everybody knows. If you're dealing with a Ubuntu, you're going to have Thunar File Manager. Now, what you do notice is when you go full screen, you do have a global menu up here. You've got File, Edit, View, Go, Help. You've got your usual suspects over here, and then you've got your home folders right here. Now, what I like about Thunar, it's not as feature-packed as some other file managers out there, but it lets you get your job done and just basically stays out of the way. That's what a file manager is supposed to do, and I think it does a fine job at it. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And as you can see, when you close, the global menu goes away, and you got your desktop files, documents, and music pops right back up. I love the smoothness of this operating system. It really is very responsive, and you can tell that it's been worked on for years. Now, if we come back down here, you've got USB stick formatter. If you need to format a USB stick, you've got that tool right there on your dock. And then you've got System Monitor. Now, what you're going to notice with System Monitor is when you pull it up, especially if you've got it in a virtual machine, it's going to tell you right over here that it's using 1.5 gigabytes, but it's really not. There's some of this operating system that runs in RAM. So that's why I really like having Stacer on here, because when you open that up, it's going to give you a true readout of what you're actually using in RAM to run the operating system. And right now you're sitting at about 950, 985. It's climbing a little bit, but it should hover around 1.1, and that's about right. You're using about 1.1 to 1.2 gigs to run this system in virtual, so we're going to go ahead and quit out of that. And then you've got LAN share down here. If you open LAN share up, that's a way for you to share things between different systems on the same network. It comes in real handy. I've used this before. It's really nice. But this comes out of the box. This comes included with the Modicia operating system. And then you come back down, you've got Cheese, you've got your web browser. Let's go ahead and open that up. I didn't even see if this had Firefox installed. Okay, and we open it up, and it looks as though this is Google Chrome. So the web browser out of the box is Google Chrome. Now, first thing I want to do, let's see if it's ready to go. eBuzz, I want to go ahead and look up eBuzz Central and see if that pulls it up, and it does right there. Now, my question is does this have an alternative browser? Let's go ahead and close out of this, because I do know there will be people out there that are happy that it does come with Chrome, but most of us in the open source community won't be. So let's go to App Expose and look up Firefox. It doesn't come with Firefox, so let's put in browser. So the only browser you're getting out of the box is Google Chrome, but we'll go over installing software here in a little bit, and I'll show you how you can get rid of Chrome and put Firefox on it. And then we can come back down here. You've got Mail Reader, XNView Multi-Platform, VLC Media Player, Audacious, LibreOffice, and then of course you've got Trash. And now what I want to do is go up here, and I want to look at settings. So you've got expose, you've got rsync, real-time kernel for multimedia, system monitor, time shift. That's going to come in handy. Time shift, if you need to make a backup or a snapshot of your system, zip on over to time shift and you can make a snapshot of your system. So that way, should you have any problems, you can always go back to a time that you had a system that was fully operational. So what I'm going to do is just right click down here, System Monitor, Calculator, Translate, Desktop Settings, Applications, Settings Manager. Let's open that up. And what I want to see right off the bat is you've got Appearance Panel. So I just hit Update the Kernel. It's based on Ubuntu. So I'm going to say we're probably using long-term support kernel. But there's your settings and everything that you have right there. Now I do want to go and see exactly how we install software. So we've got accessories. Let's just go up here and type software. There's software updater, app grid. Let's go ahead and open that up. So you can look at different apps here, I guess. PDF chain. Can you do a search? Can we look for something like OBS Studio? And would that work? There's OBS Studio, so let's click right there. We're not able to show any reviews at this moment. So you could just install from right there. So that's pretty impressive. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And I do believe you have Synaptic Package Manager on here as well. So we'll go to Software, and there's Synaptic Package Manager right there. As most of you know, if you watch any of my videos, I love Synaptic Package Manager. And if you haven't seen it before, it's one of those that it's really just a type, search, install type package manager. So you'd come over here, let's put in something like OBS Studio, and we do a search on it. And it pops up right here. You just click right there, mark for installation. It'll show you all the dependencies that you have down here. Mark those dependencies and then come up here and apply, and you would install OBS Studio on your system. Now, what you could do before you applied is go over here and look for different applications. You could look for something like Shotcut and do a search for it. And there's Shotcut right there. You can go ahead and mark it for installation. And then you got Shotcut marked, you've got OBS Studio marked, and basically you could fill this up with applications that you wanted to install. Once you got them all selected, come up there, click apply, and it would install all of them at the same time. So that makes things rather easy. Now, is it easy to just put applications on the launcher? What if we come up here, what if we wanted to add that? Can you right click it, add to panel, or is it already there? No, it's not there. Would you add it to favorites? No. Or do you just drop and drag? And can you drag? Okay, you can just drop and drag it to add it to dock. Okay, that's pretty simple. That's pretty easy. So let's come back down here. I'm going to go ahead and open up App Expose, and we're just going to kind of cover over some of the applications that you have pre-installed. You've got Airmore, Animated GIF, Audacity, Audacious, Convert All, Clipboard Manager, Blue Griffin, Blender, BleachBit, Evolution Mail, Expose, G-Labels, Fonts, Google Chrome, Laptop Mode, LibreOffice Suite, your Microsoft Excel, Microsoft OneDrive, PowerPoint, and Word. These are web apps, Natron, Notes, Plank Bar settings, and you can come down a little bit more. You got WhatsApp, VLC. You've got a ton of applications installed out of the box, and there's Qubit Torrent for your torrent downloads. If you all want a complete operating system, which basically means you download it, you throw it on a USB, you install it, or you download it, open up in a virtual machine, and you're pretty much ready to go with your daily routine or your daily work, Modicia OS is solid. Modicia OS is probably one of the most complete operating systems I've ever looked at. I say, and this is my opinion because I'll have people that come in my comments and beat me up, it is more feature-rich and better looking than Linux Mint. It's got the same base that Linux Mint has. It's based on Ubuntu. This is based on Xbuntu. It's there. The foundation is there. And on top of that, Modicia is already being used in government offices and in schools. I really think if you want something that's complete and you want something that's beautiful, because right now, I really think this right here, the way it sets, looks much better than Mac OS. I like the smaller icons down here. Mac OS is huge. I think it's easier to install applications on here than it is on Mac OS. Yes, Mac OS is number one in a lot of other areas, but if you're leaving Windows or you're leaving Mac, this is definitely an OS I would suggest you take a look at. Vanilla OS, I've been hearing a lot about it lately. I've been over to the GitHub page. I've been reading a lot of the updates. But this is what I truly believe we're going to see in future Linux distribution. I think people are going to lean more to the immutable for the simple fact that you can get your system set up and not have to worry about breaking it. Now, I know there are a lot of operating systems out there that you don't have any issues with, but every now and then you do get one that you do something and it breaks, and then you've got to start all over because you can't really fix it. But Vanilla OS is in beta access right now. I'm going to show you how to get it here shortly. But first, this is their website, which is vanillaos.org. I will be sure to include that link in the description below. Now it comes down here. It says, what is Vanilla OS? So let's scroll down. It says, nicely updated, designed to last over time and always be faithful to you. Vanilla OS is an Ubuntu Linux-based point release distribution that receives updates at the right time, neither before nor after, without sacrificing security and functionality. Now, what they've done is they've cut a lot of the Ubuntu stuff out of it, which I really like. And let's go ahead and scroll down here. It says, work, your faithful colleague by day. It's designed to be a reliable and productive operating system for your daily work. It comes with the GNOME desktop environment. And thanks to a wide range of applications, Vanilla OS is ready to meet your needs. And then down here, it talks about gaming. It says, your teammate by night. Play your favorite video games without worrying about setting up your devices. Vanilla OS offers the latest Linux kernel, ensuring support with the latest devices and the latest performance improvements. And it's got an integrated driver manager. Your GPU will no longer be a problem, whether it's AMD, Intel, or NVIDIA. If something is missing, just open the driver manager and follow the suggestions. It's that simple. And then we come down here. It says complete access to a large catalog of applications. Choice. Vanilla OS is an operating system that respects your choices. You are in control always. At the first start, you can choose which package format to use in Vanilla OS, whether it be Flatpak, Snap, or App Image. You choose, and Vanilla OS will take care of the rest, putting you in the situation to start out without problems. And then immutable. This is where it comes in handy, and I'm going to show you a real neat trick, or not necessarily a trick, but something that they're doing with this operating system that is a little different than others. It's immutable, but also it's not. Let me explain. Vanilla OS is an on-demand, immutable distribution. The system is read only to prevent unwanted changes and corruption from third-party applications or faulty updates. Some paths are still writable, such as the home directory. This allows the user to keep their files and ensure the normal functioning of applications. But it says, do you have to make changes to your system? No problem. This is where on-demand immutability comes in. You can temporarily make the system writable, make the changes you need, and then return to its original state. But what I really want to show you right here is, let's go over here. It's got your frequently asked questions. Immutability. Almost is a utility for on-demand immutability based on the immutability attribute of the files. So basically what's saying is you can have your system locked down, but then turn it off temporarily to make changes that you need to make, and then go back and lock it back down, and you're good to go. Now, they do have the package manager, APX. It is a package manager that allows you to install and manage packages in a managed container without affecting the host system. Occasionally, it is possible to use APX to install packages on the host system as well. But the beauty of this is if your system is set up as immutable, you can download packages through APX and still install them because they're putting them in a container and it won't affect your immutable system. That right there, I think, is awesome. You can get your system set up to where you want it, lock it down, and then still have access to packages that you want to use. Now, what I want to do is scroll up here real quick. Let's go back. Then we can come down a little bit more. It says free and open source. You don't have to, and you will never have to pay. And then frequently asked questions. Now let's scroll back up to the top. And what I want to do right now is let's go ahead and get on over to the desktop. Now we get the vanilla splash screen at boot. And to be quite honest, I have ran Ubuntu and Linux Mint and things like that in a virtual environment, and they seem to boot very slow. For some reason, this one boots extremely quick. And when it pops up, it's going to have a console open, and then it's going to have the try vanilla and install vanilla. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close the console, and we'll go ahead and click on this, and we're going to go ahead and click try vanilla. Now, instead of having to wait for it to boot up into where you can try it, you're there. You're good to go. Once you click try, it opens up and you're ready to go. Like I said, this seems to be a lot lighter and a lot less slower than, let's say, an Ubuntu or an Linux Mint booting up. Let's go ahead and look at something real quick. Let's go ahead and open that up, and let's tip top And we're running about 843 megs out of the 3 gigs I have issued to it, which is pretty normal for a GNOME desktop. Now I'm going to go ahead and close right here, and it's the newest GNOME. It's GNOME 43, as you can tell by the newest launch area up here. You have power, settings, of course, screenshots right here, battery level, volume. Then you've got wired, Bluetooth, dark mode, night light, airplane mode. If you click on dark mode, it'll change it from right there. I think I like that. I'm going to leave that right there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and back out of that. I'm not going to get too in-depth with GNOME 43 because I've done a lot of videos on it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit super key. Let's bring this up. You've got Vanilla OS installer. Now, if you click on that, it brings up this right here. Try it or install it. I'm going to go ahead and click install so you can kind of see what they're using. You can search for your language right here. It's English. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Keyboard layout is English. I'll go ahead and keep that. And then right here, you can search for your time zone. Let me go ahead and just put in Chicago, America, Chicago. There we go. That's good to go. Let's go ahead and click next. Then you can select your disk here. Let's go ahead and configure. But because I'm in a virtual machine, it's not going to let me do that. Right here, you'd put that information in, pick your disk, and then, of course, your name, username, password, and then it would install. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of this and close it. Let's go back to try. So that's just a quick look at the installer. And then you have GNOME Web as your web browser. I like GNOME Web, but it's going to be a little less feature-rich than, let's say, a Firefox or Vivaldi, Chrome, whatever you might be using. But it's pretty good. You can go up here and you can type into it, eBuzz Central, and go ahead and put that in. It is using Google as a search engine, and it brings your searches up right there. But you can always install another web browser if you want to. So let's go ahead and close out of that. You do have photos. You have File Manager, which is your files, which comes with GNOME 43. I like the icon theme. It's not one of my favorites, but it's not one of my ones I don't like. I would probably change the colors here, but that's completely up to you. You can do whatever you need to do to make it fit your needs and what you're going to use it for. You got your usual suspects over here. And of course, you've got your home folder right here. So let's go ahead and close out of that. Let's go ahead and hit super key. You've got your software center. Let's go ahead and open that up. And it's going to look like any other software center you've used. Now, it looks like you got a problem with the thumbnail here, but it is in beta. So you're going to have a few of these things stick out. It's going to have installed, and of course, your updates over here. Then you can explore and pick different applications down here that you want to install. It's pretty much that simple. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then you've got help, file manager we've already looked at. Let's go ahead and open this up. You've got your GNOME extension manager right here. You're probably very familiar with that. Gparted, music, your software and updates, and then of course your vanilla beta notice. Go ahead and open this up and take a look at it. It's got some information in here I think you need to read, and it lets you know right here. If you're reading this, you're probably a tester or a developer, so thank you for your interest in Vanilla OS. Please read the following carefully. Known issues. The installer may freeze. Don't worry, it's still working and we'll finish the installation. They're going to replace it with Jade, a cool GTK4 libweta installer. Ubuntu packages can't be installed from GNOME software if the immutability of the system is enabled. So you have immutability. If it's turned on, you're not going to be able to install software unless you use APX instead. We will remove the ability to install Ubuntu packages from GNOME software entirely before the open beta is released. And then suggested tests. They give you some things to go in there and try it out and kind of get used to the feel of Vanilla OS. Now what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go ahead and close this. Let's super key, come back down. We just looked at that. Here's your Vanilla OS control center. Let's open that up. And right here, you're going to have loading drivers. Please wait while we find the available drivers. I am in a virtual machine, so all it's going to give me is VirtualBox. Let's say you have AMD, Intel, NVIDIA. This is where the drivers will pop up, and it'll say, here's where you need to install your drivers. You pick those drivers, click on it, install them, and you're good to go. Immutability, right here, immutability status on the current session, it's shut off. I'm in the read and write mode, okay? If you click this on, it would go to the read-only mode, and once you restart, it would only read and you couldn't write to the disk or the system. And then you could, of course, restore on reboot, and then default mode is read-only. And then overlays, you don't have any of those, but you can create them as you go. Subsystem, installed applications on your subsystem would show up right here. So let's go ahead and close out of that. That's a really great tool. Let's come down here, Vanilla OS first setup. If you click on that, let's see if it even comes up, because I am in a live mode. I don't even know if it's going to offer it to me. And it didn't. It just closed out. So I'm not surprised about that. And then you've got your video application, system monitor, settings. Your settings are going to be like any other GNOME 43 environment. It's got everything down here. Let's go look at About. And it lets you know this is Vanilla OS. Hardware model is, of course, VirtualBox. RAM, software rendering, X11, Window Manager, GNOME version 43. It is Vanilla OS 2210 unstable. So let's go ahead and close out of that. We'll go ahead and open this back up. Go over here. Utilities, you've got disks and Archive Manager. So let's go ahead and back out of that. Let's go to the base screen, and you can change your backgrounds right here. Let me go ahead and pull that up, and let's take a look at a different background. Let's go to the top. Let's go with something like that. And it changes over to that, so it changes pretty quick. And then, of course, if you come up here and turn it on light mode, the background will change with it. So that's pretty sweet. I have high hopes for Vanilla OS. I think the fact that you can get it installed the way you want it, get everything in place, and then enable immutability where nothing else can go into that system and make changes, I think that gives you greater control over your Linux operating system. I think that gives you greater security and privacy over your Linux system. And I think it's really a great idea. I really want to give this a shot once it goes into open beta and it's not in an unstable mode. But if you want to go check this out, I'm going to have to show you how to do this because it's kind of tricky to get it downloaded. So let's zip back on over to their website. When you get to their website, to get beta access from the website, you click here, and it's going to ask you to join their Discord server. If you want to accept the invite, you can. And once you accept that invite, which I have already accepted in the past, it'll start loading Discord. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And if you go down here, it says there are no recent messages. But if you click where it says 22 messages, click on that. This opens up over here. Click Start Here. And it'll say Vanilla OS/OS. Let's go ahead and go to that website. Now, once you get here, you see it's Vanilla OS-OS. It'll say Vanilla OS Kinetic. Go ahead and click on that. And it's going to open this page up. Once it opens that page up, you'll look right down here. It'll say Vanilla OS 22.10, 1.61 gigabytes. Once you download it, it is in a zip file. Right-click, extract it. It'll extract it to a folder. Then you can burn it to a USB, or you can open it into a virtual machine. That's how easy it is. I think everybody should take a look at it. It's really quick. It's really snappy. They got rid of a lot of the junk that Ubuntu does put in there. But the security and privacy this OS is going to offer in the future is just going to be something I think can attract more people to use it, especially Linux users that are looking for an alternative to what they're using right now. What do you think? Is it something you might download, throw on a USB, put in a virtual machine, and take for a test drive? Let me know in the comments below. Please do me a favor before you leave today. Please like, subscribe, or follow my channel. The more likes I get keeps me in YouTube's algorithm, which means the information you just saw in this video, if it was helpful to you, it can be helpful to somebody else. And subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. And if you end up not liking me, you can always unsubscribe. If you like the channel and enjoy the videos that we are producing, we are on 3 separate platforms, YouTube, Utreon, and Odyssey. And you can become members on all 3. On YouTube, it's only 99 cents. On Utreon, it's $2.99. And on Odyssey, it's $4. You can also buy us a cup of coffee, maybe go over to PayPal and throw us a donation, or go to Patreon and become a patron to the channel. All those links will be in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next video.